As I was studying this lesson that I'm about to bring to you this morning, I thought about the time that we are living in. We are living in a time of sickness. We're living in a time of trouble, turmoil. We're living in a time of a financial bind. You just think about it, and we are sure, and you know as well as I do, that there are a lot of people in this world, they are worried, they are troubled, they are grumbling, all sorts of things that is going on in people's minds. But you know, as we look back to the people of Israel, they did the same thing that we do today. Many times, as we think about it, we read the history of the people of Israel. God would go and He would feed them where there was no food. He would give them water where there was no water. He'd give them light when it was dark. And they gave them the light many, many times. But yet, on the other hand, the people of Israel, they'd serve the Lord one day and they'd be a griping an axe. Cannot be satisfied. If it rains, it's too wet. If it don't rain, it's too dry. If it's hot, it's too hot. When it turns cold, it's too cold. We are unsatisfied. We see about the people of Israel here when God had been so good to them. And we see this one situation here, they begin to grumble, get all excited about things, didn't like the way the things was going. They began to grumble about and to complain. It displeased the Lord, and He brought fire in their camps and consumed many of them. I want to tell you, grumbling, discouragement is one of the old devil's best welcome he can use against you and I. And he will use it. You know, I said since I've been in the ministry that that's been one of the best things that ever happened to me as to take care of my nerves. And it's the most nervous thing you could ever get into. But you'll learn how to control yourself to a certain point. And as we see the people of Israel, they'd done a lot of crazy things when they got discouraged. Some of the best and greatest men in the Bible, they got in trouble with the Lord because they would get upset and discouraged about things that are going on. They will even sometimes, discouragement will mess your prayer life up. You'll even pray for things that you're praying wrong. Listen what happened in Numbers chapter 11 and verse 15. Moses prayed a prayer to die. Then we go on, we can find Elijah in 1 Kings 19:14. Listen what he said. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a juniper tree, and he requested for himself that he might die, and said, It is enough, O Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers. He just decided he'd be better off dead than he was alive. And he began to pray for his life to be taken. I tell you, that is discouragement. When you get that far along, say, well, I'll just die and get on out of it. I'm here to tell you that is a time you need to be on your knees and asking God to give you strength. Jonah chapter 4 and verse 3. He prayed to die. It said, therefore, now, O Lord, take, I beseech thee, my life from me, for it's better for me to die than to live. It ain't your and I's choice where it's better for us to live or die. That's God's business, and our life lies in the hands of a living God. Another thing they'll do, not only pray the wrong thing, but sometimes they'll say the wrong things. I'll tell you, you get aggravated and discouraged and all down in a valley, and you'll say all sorts of things, and a lot of it be out of the will of God. Listen what David said in the book of Psalms 116, verse 11. I said in my haste, all men are liars. He began to grumble here. Job chapter 3, verse 26. I was not in safety, neither had I rest, neither was I quiet, yet trouble came. That's why a lot of people, I've done this and I've done that for the Lord, and here what's all these problem is. I'm here to tell you we need to serve God in the valleys as same as we do on the mountaintop. And when we get into the valley, the Lord there is with us to take us through. They'll even think the wrong things. I'll tell you, you get all discouraged and you start thinking out of the box if you ain't careful sometimes, and you'll get in trouble. Listen what the people did. In Numbers chapter 21 and verse 5, he said, and the people spoke against God and against Moses, wherefore he brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness, for there is no bread, neither is there no water, and their soul longeth as light bread. Here he says he's accusing God, just bringing them up out of Egypt to die out there. When God had promised them a land that was flowing with milk and honey, he said, all you got to do, just follow my instructions. And he said, you'll go over and possess that land. And then they get tired, they gripe and grumble a while. Listen what Martha said. When Lazarus died, in John 11:21, Martha then said Martha unto Jesus, Lord, if thou had been here, my brother had not died. He said, if you'd been here like you ought to, you wouldn't have died. That's where we do sometimes. Where's the Lord at? Where's the Lord at? I'm going to tell you, sometimes he hindered to a place that where he'll get his show a miracle somewhere, and he'll be turned loose on people, and it'll wake them up. They'll do the wrong things. They'll act when they shouldn't act. Remember Moses, Numbers chapter 20 and verse 7. You know the Lord, here they went out there, and they didn't have no water. So he told him, in Numbers, they told him to go out there and speak to the rock. And he said, it'll give you water. In Numbers chapter 11, 20 and 7, he said, and Moses told him, he said, Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice. And the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beast also. Here he told him, he said, you go out there now, you speak to that rock. And he said, it'll give you water. So he took and he went out there, and he was aggravated. He sort of got upset at the people. And when he did, he hauled off and he began to hit the rock with his staff instead of speaking to it, and the water came out anyway. God took care of his people. But you know what he done? He lost his life over that. You don't do things against God like that and get away with it all the time. He'll finally catch up with you. Moses is a great man of God. Him and Aaron together. And Aaron was with him. And what did it do? He said, I'll let you see the land of Canaan, but you can't go over. Because you didn't believe me at the time there. Instead of speaking to it, he hit it with his rod, and him and Aaron both didn't get to go over and see the land of Canaan. They saw it from a distance, but they couldn't go over in it. I'll tell you, rebelling and grumbling and griping against God and against His people is a very dangerous thing. It is dangerous. 1 Kings 19:3 said that Elijah, a great man of God, he ran, got scared and run. Jonah chapter 1 and verse 3, Jonah tried to outrun, get away from God, but it didn't work. He got caught in a storm out there. Learn his lesson. Numbers 13:33, they see the wrong things. Listen what he done. The people went over to search out the land of Canaan after 40 days. And they began to tell them when they got back. But they brought back a bad report. They went over there, and sure enough, it was flowing with milk and honey. They brought some of the fruit back with them to show them. But he said, and we are in our own side as grasshoppers, so we were in their side. In other words, they got giants over there. We haven't got a chance. We can't go over and take that land. But they did. Caleb never soothed the people down and said, we are well able to go over and possess it. Why? Because God gave them the instructions what to do. And the spies didn't believe God. They could see the giants instead of God. We look around us today and we see all these problems, and it's tearing us all to pieces when we ought to be focusing on God and not what's going on so much. And I ain't saying don't take care of yourself and all that. I'm saying don't be afraid, because God is the one in control. Amen. And we got to just obey Him. As the old song says, keep your eyes on the one in the middle. And that is Jesus on the cross at Calvary. Don't be looking at these giants. Look at God. I had a friend of mine called me this week. I don't like to tell tales, but I'm going to tell it anyway. He had this virus, Nashville Hospital, and he died the other night, about 12 o'clock. They called Monterey Funeral Home to come pick him up. And I believe he said it was about 7 hours later when they was getting close into Nashville. Okay, you know how they do, they phone around a long time. They done had him all wrapped up and ready to go. And he came back alive. Doctors can't figure out what in the world's going on. You know what I told them? I said, all they got to do is look up and they'll get an answer. They said, a man's dead so long, his brain is dead. I'll tell you, when Lazarus came alive, he had plenty of sense. We see the difficulty things instead of the power of God. They putting all their confidence in medication and stuff like that, and medication is not worth a dime to you and I if God don't bless it. The Lord casted the demons out of a legion. Mark chapter 5 and verse 17. Now after he done that, the hogs and all those things, the Bible said they began to pray him to depart out of the coast. They didn't want Jesus in town. Thought more of the livestock and stuff, and they did a man's soul that was on the way to the depths of hell, and Jesus straightened him up, and they thought more of those livestock than they did the man that got right with God. We're living in them times. get in the wrong places many times. Jonah in a fish's belly, Elijah on the jumper tree. And like the people in Numbers when they got into a bed of snakes because they griped against God and Moses. And then we wonder sometimes what in the world is going on. It's not God's fault, it is our fault, but not really trusting in Him like we should. Listen what Paul said in 1 Corinthians 10:10. He said, neither murmur you as some of them also murmured and was destroyed of the destroyer. The devil will destroy you if you'll listen to him. Worries and aggravation will cause you to have a nervous breakdown. It'll ruin your health. Why? Because it's wrong to do it. The Philippians 2:14. Do all things without murmuring and disputing. Philippians 2:15 said, that you may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God without rebuke in this midst of a crooked and present nation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. We're supposed to be people that they can see Jesus in us, even in bad times and good times and whatever times it is, that they can see the Lord in our lives and know that we have something that they need. 2 Corinthians 12:10 said, therefore I take pleasure in my infirmities and reproaches and necessities and the persecution and distress for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. A child of God, dedicated to God, when you get down in a valley, that's when you get the strongest with the Lord. Because you know you need help. Discouragement. Listen what the psalmist says, Psalms 29:11. The Lord will give strength into His people. The Lord will bless His people with peace. You can have peace in bad times. Paul did. Many others did in the Bible. Job 13:15-16 said, though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. But I will maintain my own ways before him. He also shall be my salvation, and a hypocrite shall not come before him. In other words, he said, I don't care if whatever happens to me, I'm trusting in the Lord. And he did. What happened? At the end, God blessed him more in the end of his life than he did in the beginning. Because he stayed true to God in a bad time. A lot of us think, oh, we've been brought down like Job. You ain't seen nothing Job has. I've seen people stand up in the congregation, brag how strong they was and everything, and I'll tell you what, the least little thing, they are the house of God. Where is their faith? Where do we stand at with Jesus? If you're here today as someone come and give us an invitation hymn, if you're here today and you stand in need of prayer, whether rededicate your life, whether it be saved, whatever it might be, step out and come as we sing this invitation hymn.